The story kicks off with Narumi, who's handing out circus flyers while wearing a costume, when suddenly a little kid carrying a huge suitcase bumps right into him. The kid picks up the flyer and asks, "Hey, can you take me to the circus?" But Narumi shuts him down because he has a gut feeling the kid ran away from home. When the boy walks away looking completely dejected, something hits Narumi and hits him hard. He starts suffocating out of nowhere, gasping for air, and pulling off all kinds of crazy stunts trying to get someone, anyone, to laugh. A crowd gathers, but nobody's cracking a smile. He's literally about to drop dead when the same little kid who bumped into him earlier busts out laughing, and just like that, the suffocation stops. Narumi's life is saved. Not long after, 3 shady guys surround the kid and start dragging him away. Narumi catches the whole thing and immediately thinks it's a kidnapping. The boy looked absolutely miserable. He jumps in and starts throwing hands with all 3 of them, snapping one guy's neck and dislocating another's shoulder. But here's the freaky part. Both guys heal themselves on the spot. Narumi's jaw drops. The kid pipes up, "I've got an idea. Let's run. Narumi, you read my mind." They bolt to the train station and hop on the first train out of there. Once they're settled on the train, Narumi starts firing questions. But before the kid can really answer, another suffocation attack hits. Narumi's gasping again and tells the boy, "You have to laugh." The kid's just sitting there sobbing. So Narumi straight up threatens him, "Laugh, or I'll kill you right here." That does the trick. The kid forces out a laugh, and Narumi recovers. After catching his breath, Narumi introduces himself and asks what's going on. The kid speaks up, "My name is Masaru Sega. Ever since my dad died, those 3 have been on my tail. You've heard of the Sega Group, right? The biggest IT company around. My dad was the CEO. After he passed, those guys started hunting me down." Narumi pieces it together. Rich family, dead father, and now 3 creeps after the kid for inheritance money. He asks how the father died. Masaru explains that the police ruled it a car accident. The strangest part, a puppet was found tangled in the car's tire. He then mentions his grandfather, who kept a room absolutely packed with puppets. In the Sega family, every member has such a room and knows how to build and control puppets, a tradition called karakuri puppetry. His grandfather had told him, "If something happens to your father before you grow up, take that suitcase and run. Someone named Shirogane will come find you and protect you." Narumi asks who Shirogane is. Masaru shrugs. He has no idea, only that his grandfather said Shirogane would be found near the circus. That's why he'd asked Narumi to take him there in the first place. Before they can dig deeper, one of the pursuers boards the train. Narumi charges at him but can't take him down. Meanwhile, the second guy throws himself in front of the moving train to slow it down and gets destroyed in the process, revealing he's a puppet. Narumi realizes the guy he's fighting must be one too. The train derails. Masaru, guilt-ridden and in tears, keeps telling Narumi, "I'm sorry. I thought you were strong. I shouldn't have dragged you into this. I should have just died alone." Narumi slaps him and snaps back. "Every single person wants to live. If you want to survive, you fight for it. And if you need help, you ask for help. And as long as you're with me, keep smiling so I don't drop dead." Then he heads back to fight the puppet. When the train finally stops, Masaru steps outside and freezes. A puppet is walking straight toward him. He screams one word, "Shirogane." A girl appears. She grabs his suitcase, pulls out a puppet of her own, and takes down the enemy puppet in seconds. She walks up to Masaru and explains, "I'm Shirogane. Your grandfather hired me to protect you. He gave my mother and me a good life, and before he died, he made me promise to keep you safe." When Narumi steps out and asks what's going on, Masaru lights up and rushes toward him, but Shirogane steps in between and immediately attacks Narumi with her puppet. Masaru yells at her to stop. Narumi holds his ground. "I'm the one who's been keeping this kid alive. And by the way, you've got a puppet too, which means you're suspicious. And if you were really hired to protect him, where the heck have you been this whole time?" Shirogane doesn't answer. She attacks again. Narumi fights back. Masaru jumps between them and gets hurt. That stops everything cold. Shirogane pulls her puppet back into the suitcase and says flatly, "I need to get the young master somewhere safe." Narumi asks where she's planning to go. She ignores him and just says, "You should go back to your own life," and walks off. Outside, Narumi surveys the damage from the train wreck. People injured everywhere. He thinks it through. "If I don't help Sega get somewhere safe, those puppets will keep coming. More accidents, more fear. People stop laughing. And if people stop laughing, I'm dead." So he catches up with Shirogane, who's been standing on the curb for a while. Not a single cab stopping for her, probably because of her outfit. Narumi, now in different clothes, pulls up and lays it out. It's Sunday, and with what you're wearing, no cab driver in this city is pulling over for you. I know a doctor nearby. Let's get Sega patched up. I know you don't trust me yet, but remember, he got hurt because of you, so follow me. They head to a clinic, get Masaru treated, and then Shirogane asks Narumi the big question, "Why are you helping us?" Narumi's answer is simple. "I'm not doing this for you two. I'm doing this for myself." He's just about to explain his condition to Shirogane when they spot a man standing outside the window with a puppet. They step outside. The man smirks. Last time, all my puppets got beaten. But what I've brought today is far more powerful. Before he can finish his monologue, Narumi cuts in. Who hired you, and why are you after this kid? No answer. The man launches a direct attack on Shirogane. She summons her puppet, and the two puppets clash in an all-out battle. The guy was completely confident in his puppet, and for good reason. It was massive, fast, and looked absolutely terrifying. But none of that mattered, because Shirogane stopped its weapon cold with her own puppet like it was nothing. The man couldn't believe it. His jaw practically hit the floor. How could something that small block a weapon that powerful? It was a harsh, undeniable lesson that size truly doesn't matter as long as you know exactly how to handle your wood. Then Shirogane snapped the weapon clean off, grabbed the enemy puppet by the head, and when the man desperately tried to pull his puppet back, she wouldn't let it budge. She spun it around a few times and completely destroyed it. But here's the thing, winning the puppet fight didn't mean winning the battle. While everyone was distracted, 3 guys had sneaked up from behind and grabbed Masaru, holding knives to him. Hand the kid over, or else. Turns out the man outside had been working with these 3 all along. He barked at them, forget it, just kill the kid. Before anyone could make a move, Narumi stepped in and dropped all 3 of them. The man and his crew bolted. When the doctor came back to his room, he found the place completely trashed, stuff scattered everywhere, things broken. He looked around and asked, what happened in here? Masaru broke down crying and said, first the train wreck, and now your room. It's all my fault. Everyone around me ends up in trouble because of me. Narumi cut him off. First of all, stop crying. Second, laugh. Now, Masaru shot back. How am I supposed to laugh when I'm feeling like this? But Narumi kept pushing, and then his breathing started getting bad again. He kept insisting Masaru laugh, or he was going to die. The doctor watched this whole scene unfold and immediately recognized what was going on. Narumi had Sonaf disease. Shirogane instinctively grabbed Masaru's hand and started pulling him away. Don't go near him, you'll catch it. The doctor shook his head. That's not how it spreads. He then explained what the disease actually was. If a person with Sonaf disease sees someone crying or in distress, they immediately go into an anxiety attack and lose the ability to breathe. The only way to stop it is to make that person, specifically the one in front of them, laugh. Seeing a random person laughing doesn't count. It has to come from them. Masaru suggested, can't you just look at someone who's already laughing? Narumi, doesn't work that way. I have to make you laugh. So Narumi started pulling out every trick in the book. Goofy faces, weird dances, outrageous moves, desperately trying to get even a smirk out of the 2 of them. Nothing. Dead silence. Narumi threw his hands up. You 2 are absolutely useless. He stormed outside to find someone else to make laugh. Masaru started to follow him, but Shirogane grabbed his arm. Why are you chasing after him? Just leave him to deal with it himself. Masaru shook his head. No, that guy helped me. I want to help him back. Narumi ducked into a nearby store, hoping to get at least one person to crack a smile. But the pain was so bad at this point that instead of being funny, he was just terrifying everyone in the store. Then Shirogane walked in, flicked him on the head, and told him flatly, you're not making anyone laugh, you're scaring them. Narumi knew she was right. Then she flicked him again. That did it. Narumi whipped around and snapped back at her, and just like that, the 2 of them were going at it right there in the middle of the store. The customers, already confused by Shirogane's bizarre outfit, looked at these 2, going at each other, and assumed they must be circus performers putting on a show. The whole store erupted in laughter. Narumi's life was saved. Again. After everything settled down, Narumi brought them both back to his place. Shirogane cooked dinner, which, honestly, nobody saw coming, and they all sat down together. Over dinner, Narumi asked Masaru, don't you have any other family? Masaru set down his chopsticks and said quietly, I only joined the Sega family 3 years ago. I don't know any of my relatives because they always called my mom the mistress. Narumi blinked. That caught him off guard. Masaru kept going, laying out the whole story. He'd always lived with just his mom, the 2 of them on their own. After she passed away, a lawyer showed up at their door one day and told him he was now officially part of the Sega family, just like that. I don't care about their money or their property, Masaru said. All I want is to build my mom a proper grave. When she died, I didn't even have enough money to give her a decent one. Narumi turned away. He didn't want Masaru to see his face. Later, after dinner, Narumi quietly wrestled with something. I know I trust Masaru, but this girl, Shirogane, I can't figure her out. She acts like she cares about him, but something's off. And honestly, I don't even think Shirogane is her real name. He let it go for the night and headed out to do some martial arts training. Masaru followed him outside and watched, wide-eyed. Where'd you learn all that? China, Narumi said, then showed him a couple of moves. After a beat, Masaru said quietly, if I were as strong as you, I don't think I'd be afraid of dying. Narumi lowered his hands. Everybody's afraid of dying. Even me. When I was fighting those puppets, I was scared out of my mind. When I was a kid, I got bullied constantly. I was just like you, scared of everyone and everything. Masaru looked up at him. Can I actually get that strong? Because if I could, people would actually listen to me, and I could smile whenever I wanted. Narumi pulled out some old photos, himself as a little kid, crying on the way to school, crying at lunch, crying through gym class. See, I was a mess, but I changed. I put in the work. You can do the same thing, and I'll help you. He pointed at him. But while you're with me, keep smiling. Non-stop, I mean it. Just then, Shirogane appeared and told Masuru it was time for bed. But before he went in, Masuru turned back to Narumi. Will you stay with me? Until I'm strong enough to handle things on my own. Narumi looked at him for a second. Yeah, I'll stick around. That night, lying awake in the dark, Narumi stared at the ceiling and asked himself the question he'd been avoiding, why am I even doing this? But the answer kept coming back the same way. He needed to see Masuru smiling. And somewhere along the way, the thought of not being around him just didn't sit right anymore. Then, chaos. Masuru got up to use the bathroom. A figure appeared at the window with a puppet and snatched him. Shirogane rushed in but couldn't do anything. Her puppet was in another room. She was useless without it. Narumi burst in too, but a second attacker blindsided him from behind. Both men, each with a puppet, threw Masuru into a large truck and disappeared into the night. Narumi and Shirogane chased after it. But before they could get close, the guy who had fought them before stepped out and blocked their path, Irio. They both immediately assumed he was behind the kidnapping. But Irio held up his hands. My name is Irio, and I didn't take the kid. That was a different group, our rival crew. My group is called the Slaughter Group. We take contracts to kill. Our contract was to eliminate Masuru, not kidnap him, but someone else hired a separate team for the kidnapping. Their job was to grab the kid and deliver him to his uncle, who lives in a mansion. That's where they're taking him. He looked at both of them. Here's the deal. Help me take down the kidnapping crew, and I'll let you walk out of there with the kid. That's the trade. Neither Narumi nor Shirogane had much of a choice. They agreed. The next morning, as they were gearing up to go rescue Masuru, Shirogane turned to Narumi and asked the question directly. Why are you helping him? You barely know him. Narumi glanced over at her. Do you actually trust Irio? Shirogane didn't answer. Narumi shrugged. Doesn't matter. Let's just go. Even if I told you why I'm helping, Narumi said, you wouldn't believe me anyway. So let's just focus on saving Masuru and figure out the rest later. When Masuru opened his eyes, he found himself staring at an old man sitting across from him. I'm your uncle, the man said calmly. Your father's brother. Before he died, he told me that if anything ever happened to him, I'd be the one to look after his son. That's why I had you brought here, to keep you safe from the people trying to hurt you. Masuru sat there and quietly processed everything. Narumi and Shirogane aren't bad people, and the more he thought about it, the clearer it became. His uncle didn't care about him at all. This was about money. It had always been about the money. Outside the mansion, armed guards lined the gate, fully expecting someone to show up and try to break Masuru out. Irio and his crew were already in position, but even he wasn't about to charge straight in because he knew the place was loaded with traps. So he waited. Then Narumi came roaring up on his motorcycle, ready to go and guns blazing. Shirogane grabbed his arm. Don't. I'll keep everyone busy, Narumi said, cutting her off. You go find Masuru. The second they crossed through the gate, a wave of guards swarmed Narumi from every direction. Didn't matter. He went through them one by one without breaking a sweat. Irio watched from a distance, saw his opening, and sent his own team in to clean up what was left of the kidnapping crew. Then the main gate slammed shut. A girl appeared on top of it, puppet in hand. Nobody is getting through this gate, she announced. One of the Slaughter Group's puppet users stepped up and hammered the gate repeatedly. Nothing. Then 2 massive rollers shot out from inside and crushed his puppet, and the gloves controlling it got stuck. The man started screaming for help, completely panicked. Please, someone help me. I'm going to die. Narumi moved toward him. Shirogane stopped him cold. He's Slaughter Group, she said. He came here to kill Masuru. If he dies, that's one less problem for us. Narumi stood there. He didn't go. The man died. Then Shirogane stepped forward, summoned her puppet, and blew the gate clean off its hinges in a single hit. Slaughter Group members poured through and immediately got buried under bombs that the girl had dropped on them through her puppet. She smirked from above. Told you. Nobody gets through. Meanwhile, Masuru's uncle kept pressing him. Look, there are so many people out there who want you dead. Let me adopt you. Be my son. Let me protect you. Masuru, still terrified, bought himself a second. I need to use the bathroom. Because nothing screams trustworthy paternal figure, quite like a strange old man insisting on escorting you to the toilet. I'll come with you, the uncle said. Masuru shoved him out of the way and bolted. He ducked into a cabinet to hide and found a book inside with his father's name on the cover. He opened it. His own name was written inside. Back outside, Narumi was fuming at Irio. Who exactly are you people? You control these massive puppets like it's nothing and take lives without even blinking. Irio took a breath and explained. Everyone who knows how to control puppets. All of us. We come from the same clan, the Kuroga clan. In the beginning, The clan used puppets for religious ceremonies, performing dances to honor the gods. That was the whole point. He went on to explain the clan's history with the Sega family. The clan had originally bought puppets from the Segas. Over time, the relationship flipped. The Sega family started paying the clan to field test their puppets. And those puppets, it turned out, weren't ceremonial at all. They were weapons, built with the ability to kill efficiently and without a trace. Before Irio could say anything more, Shirogane cut in. We need to move. Save it. If we make it out of here alive, you can finish the story then. They pushed forward and walked straight into a hidden trap. The ground gave way. Shirogane was about to go down. Narumi grabbed her hand. Inside the mansion, Masaru sat alone with his father's book and read the truth. His father hadn't left him the entire Sega fortune by accident. It was deliberate. A trap. Not for Masaru, but for the Kuroga clan. By making Masaru the sole heir while he was still a child, his father had guaranteed that every faction, every hired killer, every mercenary within the clan would compete and fight each other over who got to control or eliminate him. The clan members would tear each other apart. And in the end, they'd all destroy themselves. His father had sacrificed everything, including his own son's safety, to bring down the entire clan. Masaru closed the book. He felt sick. Then his uncle found him. Back at the trap, Narumi was barely holding on, injured, gasping, and losing his grip. His condition was flaring up hard. He looked at Shirogane and said through gritted teeth, "Go, get Masaru. I can't move, I'm hurt, and I can barely breathe." Shirogane didn't move. "Is there anything I can do for you?" Narumi tried everything to make her laugh. Nothing landed. She just watched him, stone-faced. "I'm not leaving," she said quietly, "until you laugh, or I do." Narumi could see it wasn't going to happen. So he made a call. He'd tell her a joke, she wouldn't laugh, and he'd use that as the reason to send her on her way. He looked straight at her and said, completely deadpan, "Will you be my girlfriend?" He expected her to either storm off or roll her eyes. What he didn't expect was for her to look at him, genuinely look at him, and say softly, "I don't know." And just like that, the attack stopped. Narumi blinked. What just happened? He didn't have an answer, but whatever it was, it worked. Shirogane looked down at the ground and quietly apologized. "You couldn't make me laugh, and I couldn't laugh. I'm sorry. I think I really have become a puppet." Then, a voice from above. Masaru. Standing there, staring down at both of them, very much alive and very much relieved. He didn't waste another second. He grabbed a fire extinguisher and absolutely unloaded it on his uncle. Masaru smashed a chair through the window, climbed up onto the ledge, and stood there looking down. Way down. Meanwhile, Narumi turned to Shirogane and asked what she meant when she said she'd become a puppet. Shirogane was quiet for a moment, then spoke. "I don't know much about myself. All I know is that I was born in France and grew up there. I have no idea who my parents were. From the time I was little, I was trained to control puppets. My teacher drilled one thing into me over and over. Strip out your human feelings. Become a puppet yourself. A puppet that controls puppets. Later, I was given missions, hunting and destroying automations, puppets that moved on their own. I completed every mission. But somewhere along the way, after destroying so many puppets, I became one. I don't even know how to smile anymore." Narumi shook his head. "I think you do know how to smile. You just don't want to show it. And for the record, you are not a puppet. You're a person." Up on the ledge, Masaru looked down and felt his stomach drop. His uncle called up to him, "I won't hurt you. Just come down." Masaru didn't move. He stood there and made a decision, a real one, maybe the first one that was ever truly his. He'd spent his whole life crying. He'd never once gotten to live the way he actually wanted to live. But if he jumped and survived, he was going to spend the rest of his life smiling. He jumped. On his way down, he landed directly on top of a man who was about to kill Irio with his puppet. The man was knocked out cold. Masaru walked away without a scratch. He looked at Irio, who was staring at him like he'd just seen a ghost. "You're the guy who was hired to kill me, right?" Masaru said, catching his breath. "I want to make you an offer. Come work for me instead. Name your price. I'll pay whatever you want." Irio blinked. This kid just fell from a second-story window, survived, and is now trying to negotiate a job offer with me. He crossed his arms. "Look, I appreciate what you just did, but I don't betray my clients. A contract is a contract. I still have to kill you." Without a word, Masaru handed him the book, his father's book. Irio read it. His expression shifted. He understood now. This whole situation had been engineered to pit clan members against each other and wipe them all out. The Sega family had used Masaru as bait to destroy the Kuroga clan from the inside. Irio looked up. "All right, so, how much are we talking?" As Narumi and Shirogane made their way through the mansion, they came across a brutal scene, a slaughter group member losing a fight to another puppet user, who then decapitated him without hesitation. Back inside, Masuru's uncle got a call informing him that Masuru was still alive. He looked genuinely relieved, then looked up and found Masuru standing right in front of him, Irio at his side. Irio smirked. "The kid wants to kill you." Masuru shook his head. Stop all of this, now. His uncle's expression hardened. Then he calmly told Masuru that Narumi and Shirogane would have to be eliminated. He couldn't afford anyone knowing Masuru was here. Masuru's face went cold. He sprinted straight at his uncle, dropped to one knee, and snapped the man's leg at the joint. Then he drove an elbow into his nose and put him on the floor. Who needs years of expensive family therapy when you can just casually execute a flawless MMA takedown on your toxic relatives? He turned to Irio. We need to find them, right now. In the cage where Narumi and Shirogane were being held, the lights had gone out completely. Total darkness. Shirogane's breathing changed. When I was little, she said quietly, every time I made a mistake during puppet training, they'd lock me in a room just like this. Pitch black, 4 walls, no way out. There was one small window. A hand would reach through it and perform puppet movements in the dark. Just. Watching that hand move in the darkness terrified me. Every single time. She paused. Right now, it feels exactly like that room. Narumi pulled her close and said, then smile. Sometimes the only way to face fear is to smile straight at it. Fear can't touch you when you keep smiling. Shirogane went still. Then she said softly, Masuru's grandfather told me the exact same thing. He said, you've become a puppet. But I want you to learn to smile again, because you've forgotten how. Protect Masuru, and while you do, you'll find your way back to being human. High above them, Masuru and Irio were riding a puppet through the building, trying to reach the top floor. Irio kept saying it was impossible. Masuru had already run the calculations in his head. We can do it, trust me. The puppet slipped. They started going down. Masuru grabbed control, extended the puppet's neck upward, and somehow, barely, pulled it off. They made it to Narumi's level. When Narumi and Shirogane spotted Irio, they both immediately shouted at Masuru to get away from him. It's fine, Masuru said calmly. He works for me now. Irio shrugged, kids telling the truth. Then Irio immediately passed out. A moment later, the man who had originally captured Narumi and Shirogane reappeared and leveled a threat. If Masuru stays near you, I cut his hand off. He glanced at Shirogane. Actually, I'll cut both your hands off. Before he could move, Narumi threw his own hand forward and snapped both of the man's blades clean in half. Then he channeled his spiritual energy and broke the cage open. They were out. And Narumi was furious. Masuru was injured, bruised, and beaten from everything his uncle had put him through. Narumi looked at the man in front of him, then looked at Masuru, and something clicked off behind his eyes. He beat the man out of the room without a word. More men were waiting in the hallway. They came at Narumi all at once. He went through every single one of them. Masuru and Shirogane watched in stunned silence. Just how strong is he? Masuru whispered. But while Shirogane's full attention was locked on Narumi, a girl with a puppet came out of nowhere and attacked her leg. Shirogane went down, badly hurt. The second Narumi turned to check on her. He got grabbed and restrained from behind. Shirogane tried to summon her puppet, but she couldn't stand, couldn't get her bearings, and was barely able to fight back. Both of them pinned, both of them hurt. They started calling out to Masuru, run, get out of here, go. Masuru took off, made it a few steps, then stopped. He turned around, walked back, and took full control of Shirogane's puppet himself. Masuru had control of Shirogane's puppet, but just barely. He only knew one move, a single technique he'd watched Shirogane perform earlier. He waited, stayed patient, and the moment the right opening appeared, he threw everything he had into that one move. It worked. The enemy puppet went down. But the second it hit the floor, the bond timer reached 0. The entire mansion started coming apart. Everyone scrambled. Somehow, against all odds, they all managed to pull themselves out of immediate danger. Then Irio appeared and laid out their only option. I've got a rope rigged all the way down from here to the bottom. We climb down. That's how we get out. Narumi wasn't having it. How do we know you won't just cut the rope the second we're halfway down? Irio gave him a look. I already told you. The kid hired me. He's paying me well. I don't bite the hand that feeds me. They decided to send Shirogane down first. But before anyone could move, the surface Masuru was standing uncracked and gave way, and he dropped. Shirogane immediately pushed herself up. I'm going after him. Narumi grabbed her arm. Look at your leg, you can barely stand. Let me go. By the time you make it down, we'll already be there waiting for you. Don't argue. Then his condition flared up. His breathing cut out, the suffocation came back hard, and Shirogane watched it happen and desperately tried to force herself to laugh. Anything to help him. Nothing came. She started apologizing. Narumi came right up to her, looked her in the eyes, and said, Stop apologizing. This is not your fault. Then he shoved her off the edge toward the rope and went after Masuru himself. He found Masuru, pulled him close, wrapped his arms around him, and was about to carry him out. Then the ceiling came down. Beams, debris, wooden planks. All of it crashed directly on top of Narumi. He took the whole impact to protect Masuru, shielding the boy underneath him. Pinned under the wreckage, struggling to breathe, Narumi started talking. My grandfather was a circus clown. He had the same disease I have. He spent his whole life making kids laugh, and that's how he survived it. I always figured I'd end up doing the same thing. Become a clown, keep people laughing, stay alive. He paused. But then I met you. I saw you laugh for the first time and it saved my life. Right then I decided I was going to save yours. The ceiling groaned above them. More of it gave way. Keep your head down, Narumi told him. He took a slow breath, then said the last thing he needed to say. No matter what happens in life, keep laughing. Always listen to your heart. If you feel like crying, go ahead and cry. But don't ever stop laughing. And then the rest of the ceiling came down on them both, and the two of them were trapped inside the ruins of the mansion through the entire night.
Did you enjoy the video? Drop a like to let me know and smash the subscribe button if you want to see more. I love to hear your thoughts. Tell me your favorite moment, what you didn't like, or what I can do better next time in the comment below. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. See you in the next one.